What is going on YouTube, and welcome back to my channel, JoJo Speaks. Thank you all so much for joining me for this being my review for the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 17 reunion and a little bit of an overall review of the season altogether. So a couple things I want y'all to do before we get started. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, press the notification bell, and share my channel with all your family, friends, and loved ones. Let everybody know JoJo Speaks is out here in these YouTube streets. So you guys, I decided not to do an individual video on all three parts of the reunion this season because the reunion seemed to go the same way for every franchise. There's really no resolution that's found. The separation between the girls is still separation between the girls, and we really get nowhere with the reunion. There were a couple things that I'm glad that actually came out during the reunion. The main thing being Angela explaining the reason why her daughter felt like she had to get married without telling Angela, and also the hubbub around the internet that Angela is not cool with the LGBTQIA plus community. So when Angela said that, her daughter came out to her when she was 12 years old, she got her coming out cookies, and, they were very welcoming and, all of that good stuff. The main issue is that her daughter's wife's parents are not accepting of Angela's daughter. So I'm glad that we got that out the way because I did not want to believe that Angela had an issue with the LGBTQIA plus community. It didn't seem like that would be the case with her. And then, when Angela said that, her son, heard the conversation while he was standing on the stairs while they were talking about her daughter needing to tell her brother and sister that she was married and, she just wasn't friends with that female. So I'm glad that we were able to get that out of the way. One of the things I'm most frustrated about is the fact that, when K. Michelle was talking about the plotting and planning and things of that nature, we really didn't get a definitive answer as to what it is that she was referring to, although most of the girls were blaming Shamia for that. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that when Shamia was talking about the friends of hers that didn't want her to be friends with K. Michelle, she wasn't talking about the ladies in the group. She was actually talking about girls like I guess Candy and Toya, other girls from Atlanta. So I'm glad that was cleared up as well. Another conversation that I found interesting was when Pinky was talking about her bankruptcy. And Phaedra decided to pipe up and was like, well, there were a lot of black investors that invested into your company and they lost money because you filed for bankruptcy. And Pinky was like, well, I had white and black investors. And the thing is, when you invest in something, it's not always a guarantee that you'll get a return on your investment. And that has to be known when it comes to investing. So, yes, people might have lost their money, but that's the risk that you take when you invest. Although I've enjoyed Cynthia this entire season, I did not necessarily enjoy her during this reunion because it is clear that she is on Portia's side of the couch, and that's the team that she's rolling with. And I love that Andy asked Portia, what did you mean when you said K. Michelle picked the wrong side? And Portia just said it out loud, that side of the couch, meaning Kelly, Shamia, and Pinky. And I'm a little bit disappointed that she didn't go into more detail as to, we're clearly the winning team and, she's picking the losing team. It's like, whatever the case might be, I'm glad that Portia didn't shy away from what she said because she said what she said and there's no other way to interpret it. So it is what it is as far as that's concerned. I'm so glad that Andy confronted Drew about bringing a horse or her love interest or her crush bringing a horse to Shamia's Halloween party. Shamia said that she doesn't need the $2,200 no more. She knows why, what Drew's going through. She knows the struggle she's currently enduring. And so, she doesn't need that money. That was shade coming from Shamia. And I did enjoy it. My thing with Shamia is I do like her. I do like her as a person. I think she has a sweet personality. I do think that she does mean well. I felt like she came onto the show thinking that she could be a huge personality for the show. And she just does not have that huge personality that those like Portia or even Phaedra. Phaedra has a great personality, even though I don't care for her at all. or Angela or K Michelle. She's really not on their level as far as her energy is concerned. However, I would not mind seeing her back next season. However, no, here's my prediction. I have a feeling that all of the ladies are coming back next season, maybe with the exception of Phaedra. I really do not need to see Phaedra on Real Housewives of Atlanta again. Don't need to see that whatsoever at all. I'm not interested in seeing Phaedra back. But I'm assuming that the other girls will be coming back. Cynthia said that she's not interested in becoming a full-time housewife at this point. I don't know if that's going to change. I don't know if that needs to change because I think that, it's perfect with Cynthia being a friend of the show. I think she takes on that role extremely well. So, excuse me. But yeah, and I'm so glad that, K Michelle and Drew were sort of kind of able to drop the whole issue that they were having. I'm a little bit disappointed that Andy didn't put his foot on K Michelle's neck as far as the fact that K Michelle is the main one who was bringing up that Drew was saying that she knew Black when Drew only said it once in the entire season. Only once in the entire season, unless K Michelle brought it up to her face. So that's one of the main things that I wish that they would have addressed. I found it interesting that they did not bring the husbands onto the stage. K Michelle's married, Shamia's married. Well, Shamia's husband ain't coming on that show, or at least not onto the stage. He's been featured on the show before and very, here and there, just glimpses of him being on the show, but he really hasn't been a full participant of the show. And we saw less of Charles this season as well. Not nearly as much of Charles this season as we did last season. So I'm assuming because the husbands really didn't have much interest in this season, and that's the reason why they weren't on stage. And I think that might have been for the best, for them not to be on stage for the reunion. But yeah, overall, Dustin Butler, who I do my 90 Day Fiance reviews with yesterday, asked me what would I rate this season from 1 to 10. And I told him probably about a 5 or a 6. I felt like they started off with a bang with the first 3 episodes. K Michelle was clearly the main character of the show, which is why I enjoyed it so much. However, K Michelle kind of faded into the background as the season progressed. And I really, really was not too happy about that. And then when the whole thing with Shamia and Portia blew up in Scotland, and I'm so glad that they discussed that as well. Although Portia was like, I'm not talking about my mother. I'm not talking about my daughter. I'm not talking about family. I don't know if when you're on a show like The Real Housewives of Atlanta, you can make those types of demands. Because you're on a reality show. This is what you signed up for. Your entire family is involved in this. I don't think that it's fair for children to be brought into it. So I do understand and respect her not wanting her daughter to be involved in the conversation. However, her mother is fair game, at least in my opinion. But Shamia just said that, everything was piling up on her and it all just came out. And, it's clear to me that Portia and Shamia will never be friends again. I don't see. Portia seems like the type of girl who would, hold a grudge for forever, maybe if need be. So I really don't see Portia and Shamia being friends again. And Portia doesn't necessarily need Shamia in her life. Shamia never needed Portia in her life, to be honest. Shamia is living a very wealthy lifestyle, very kept woman type lifestyle. So Shamia doesn't even need to be on the show, which is why I don't understand why she feels the need to stay on the show. I have a feeling it's because she likes the fandom behind the show. She likes the fact that she might have a little, a couple stands here and there who ride for Shamia, which I'm sure is probably quite addicting. And, you really don't want to have to get away from that. But it is what it is. But I thought this season was okay. Like I said, I would give it about a 5 or a 6. I don't know how it could get better. Because I don't see them bringing in any other new girls for the next season. But I would like to see all the girls, with the exception of Phaedra, back next season. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments of this season overall, as well as the reunion. Were you happy with the reunion? Were you happy with the discussions that were had at the reunion? Let me know down in the comments. Who was your favorite housewife this season? I'd still have to say K Michelle was my favorite. And that's not saying much, at least for me. Because last season it was Angela, but Angela, with all the lies that she told this season, I'm sorry, she can't be my number one. But yeah, let me know down in the comments. Join me every Thursday night at 8 p.m. for my live Hot Topics and Social Commentary show. I go live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. with my sister Prophetic Fire Reiki as well as our friend Bianca Edwards. We always have an amazing time talking about the latest happenings and goings on in the world. So join us every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Thanks so much for watching the video. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.